Hi, this is Jim Seamus.
And Andrew Matheson with this week's edition of Double Coverage. Week 3 is in the books. Santa Cruz County Athletic League, Monterey Bay League Pacific Division kicks off next week. Unless you're Scotts Valley, which plays another non-league game.
As does Watsonville.
In a couple more weeks, yeah. We're ready to kick this off. We got a football because we felt that was appropriate, right?
Just to keep your eyes on the football and
there you go.
To distract you.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go right to it. Friday night, you were where, sir?
I was at Watsonville having a wonderful time watching a great football game.
Did you get any speeding tickets in Watsonville?
No speeding tickets.
Good.
And but I did have some French fries. They're very good down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
nice snack shack.
Good snack shack. There you go.
Watsonville played SLV tough. They lost 28-20.
Okay.
SLV finishes preseason 3-1. So both teams seem to be a lot better than even though Watsonville ends at 1-2 right now.
Much better than we were expecting.
This was a great game.
Yeah.
And Watsonville traditionally doesn't play SLV great. They haven't won much over the years.
Yeah.
But they gave SLV.
You could say that they don't play them great. Yeah. They haven't won much.
Yeah, but I mean, not all the games are this tight.
Yeah.
And they played them really well, and I was impressed. There was a lot of attitude, a lot of fire on the Watsonville sideline, on both sidelines. These teams were just great hitting teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to just give a shout out to Eddie Mares actually at Watsonville.
Shout out Eddie.
Yeah, their quarterback. He was their quarterback in week 1. He's phenomenal. And that fell now on those duties to Chris Picasso. Passed for 224 yards last week and a couple scores.
I saw him against Aptos. I think he was 8 of 8 for
yeah, he's good.
50 yards and a touchdown. He's a solid backup. I don't know how they're going to use him, though, in the future.
I think they like his downfield arm.
Yeah.
But Mars is pretty damn good, too.
Mars is pretty... Yep. This is a family show.
Darn good. Dang. But dang, Mars is a good hitter. I mean, there was some big hits.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Yeah.
And that said, from the other side of the ball, too. I mean, Derek Petzinger was solid. Lucas Sinnott had his hand in on numerous plays where he looked good. A blocked pass, a sack, as did Petzinger. And Drew Bernard also had a sack. Eddie Mars had an interception. There was It was just a feisty, smash-mouth game, and it was awesome.
Now, I want to say, in terms of Watsonville, new coach, new offense, 2 new key players, 2 new star players. SLV kind of had a down year last year. I want to say both teams are better than I was expecting.
Definitely.
So far. Watsonville, especially on offense. SLV, especially on defense.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, how many turnovers this past game, any?
None.
Well,
there's one interception.
Okay, so 11 turnovers that they've had in the last 3 games, which is...
Actually, that one interception SLV threw.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, they didn't get a turnover.
Okay, well, 10 the previous 2 games.
Yeah.
So obviously an impressive stat in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking SECAL first, does SLV have a chance? We're saying SoCal, I guess, is still top dog.
Yeah, SoCal is, and I would think, but anytime you play defense, you give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Right? And they, not just defense, like just making a stop, they force turnovers.
Yeah.
So I think they have a great chance. They have a young quarterback in Isaac Newberry. He's a sophomore. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. Yeah, he's developing.
Yeah.
He's not phenomenal yet, but he's getting there very quickly. You know, he passed for 2 touchdowns last week and ran for another, and he's effective. He gets what you'll see out of him is 10 attempts a game. But a 60 or 70% completion ratio.
Yeah.
So they're easing them in.
Petzinger's running it for 100 yards plus the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, this offense is Petzinger and the wide receivers on their sweeps.
And then defensively, we got Lucas Sinnott. Sinnott.
Yeah, he's been solid outside linebacker.
Okay.
Sinnott, that's very funny because that's what they've been saying over the PA systems. Lucas Sinnott.
Robbie Biagiotti's solid.
Yeah.
Trevor Patterson's got a handful of picks already. Yeah. I think he leads the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of key pieces.
A lot of playmakers.
And then Watsonville will be going they got some big teams in Seaside, which beat Palma for I think what's the stat that everyone's throwing? It's like the first Monterey County team in 20 years that's beaten Palma or something like that.
Yeah,
don't quote me on that. Go read George Watkins or John Devine or one of those Monterey County papers. But obviously MVC and SoCal MVC and Seaside are top dogs in MBL right now. You were going to say something. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, SoCal, Aptos, and then SLV Scotts Valley.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about SoCal this weekend.
Well, speaking defensively, SoCal, that's where I was on Friday night watching Silver Creek. 53-6 victory for SoCal. And when you look at all those points, you're like, oh, the offense must have done a great job.
Yeah.
I was more impressed with the defense. Yeah. They forced 2 safeties. They had about 4 sacks. They looked fairly special. I mean, I think Silver Creek had an 81-yard touchdown run on the first play of the game, and Soquel responded with a 50-yard run by Ryan Reyes on their 4th play of their drive in that ensuing series. And I'm immediately thinking, like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be a track meet. It's going to go back and forth, and it's going to be 150 points at the end, and it's going to be 1,200 yards. And Silver Creek didn't do anything after that.
Soquel gets after it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done it 2 of the 4 games. They held Carmel in check. They gave up a 20 spot there or so.
Yeah.
And then they lost and gave up 30-something to Seaside, which just beat Palma.
Exactly. So I think Seaside's on a different level
they clearly are, but
everybody right now.
That game just lets us know how good this Soquel team is.
Yeah.
And the Soquel team is pretty darn good. That's why they're still our favorites to win league this year.
Exactly.
And nothing's changed throughout the course of this preseason.
No, I mean, I think we're looking at Soquel still the top dog. I think we're going
like
Aptos, Scotts Valley, SLV, kind of a second tier of teams, depending on where you want to rank them.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
And then at the lower end of things, which is a game you covered.
Yeah, St. Francis taking on Stevenson. It was pretty disappointing. It was a 27-0 win for Stevenson. And St. Francis just kind of came out flat offensively. And they couldn't find that kind of Kickstarter momentum to kind of get them going a little bit. Every time they kind of had a good play, they'd kind of, shoot themselves in the foot a little bit. 3 turnovers, got sacked a handful of times, costly penalties. Yeah. The big one, though, they were without some key players. Starting quarterback Nick Sandra left the game early in the second half. They're without Cody Parker, their tight end, right from almost the start of the game, and their big running back, Jonathan Carmona, who had 3 touchdowns last week in the first half, got injured, didn't play in the second half last week, and didn't play all this week, so he was a kind of a key piece missing.
Injuries are going to be a factor with these small roster teams, with any team in the league. Here's what I want to know.
It's going to happen, too. You got 25 kids in the roster, and all of them go both ways.
Yeah.
So
we have our favorites, and then we have our lower end, and no offense to them, they're rebuilding. The teams like Santa Cruz, St. Francis, and Harbor.
St. Francis very young.
Do any of those teams, to close out this thing and see, do any of those teams, and did St. Francis give any indication today that they can be a team that can upset, to play dark horse and really pull a stunner this year?
I think later in the year. They're still developing.
Okay.
And what I saw today out of St. Francis was not what I saw during the previous game I saw when they lost to King City.
Yeah.
They're a completely different team. I don't know what happened today. I just think it might have been one of those games, chalk it up to one of those games type deal, which you can't explain, but there's certain factors that aren't playing well. So right now, like I said, they are young, and those injuries are going to hurt them.
They're getting piling up.
Yeah, those injuries are going to hurt them. Long run, short run, obviously.
Yeah.
But like I said, they got a new coach. They're throwing the ball a lot, which can be hit or miss with a young developing team.
Yeah.
I would expect, I'd watch out for them later in the year.
Yeah.
Just like right now, it's still like putting the pieces together right now, and I can't. Although today was very disappointing from them, I can't necessarily write them off by any means.
League starts next week, and I'm thinking it's a 4-team race, but I'm still excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you there. But what you get out of Harbor today is not what you're going. What you get out of St. Francis today is not what you're going to be getting out of St. Francis. I would imagine.
Well, that said,
later
Harbor
in the year
is also improving greatly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. So next week we get to see the action.
Next week we get to see the action, unless you're Scotts Valley and they have another non-league game.
Okay. All right. Well, stay tuned. Check us out on
SantaCruzSentinel.com/football and /football. There it is. That's why we have it here. That's the only reason why we have it.
Yeah, that's the only reason to remind us.
/football. Check it out next week for opening weekend of SCCAL play and NBL play.
Nice.
Don't forget those kids.
Stay classy, Santa Cruz.
Stay classy. See you later.